or even your neighbor. Soulicious pepper sauce. Look on the ingredient. No fat in it. And we have spices, yes. Soulicious pepper sauce. We have the niceness. Put it in your drink and spice it up, yes. Soulicious pepper sauce. We have apron too. So worth to eat. Just right for you.
Hey,
All right. So after a technical, I'm back. We have Sherri Darlene on the top, well, left, unless you're looking at the right, and then we got LG on the top right, unless he's on your left. I'm in the bottom middle. See, that's that's where I'm at. But we have candid conversations happening. I don't know how it started for you, but my site glitched. So restream. I appreciate the sponsorship for the last 2 months, but you're making me look unprofessional in front of people who have influence. That can't happen. That can't happen. So, oh man, we'll jump right into it. We were talking about June 6th coming up sooner than we think. Would be the anniversary of the demonstration that you organized last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and unfortunately, like we were discussing with the COVID rules, um, we're gonna have to go to a virtual thing for this year. Definitely not what we wanted to do, but as long as we're doing something and pay close attention, check our website because Justice for Black Lives is going to be making an announcement on the anniversary of June 6th, and it's a big one. It's a big one.
Okay.
It's exciting and it's definitely a move in the direction for change because that's what we're about. So and it's educational, so it's very interesting, and I think a lot of people are going to be surprised to know this about their community.
I can see the excitement brimming right now. It's like you
I
want to
just,
say something, but
I
you
can't.
can't
Yeah,
yet.
I know.
I hear you. I
I
hear
can't.
you. There's
I
just
can't.
there's okay. So we'll move on to the thing we can talk about, hopefully a little bit more in detail. June 19th.
Yeah, so
Um,
June 19th, we had originally planned um, to host and put on Niagara's first Juneteenth festival. Now, being American, I've always gone to the Juneteenth celebrations in the United States, which are just a beautiful, wonderful cultural, like, and it goes on for the whole weekend. A lot of celebrations in the state have that for the emancipation of slavery. But I think what a lot of people don't understand is Niagara's direct link to that important date. So rather than have the festival like we wanted to, again, COVID has our hands tied, so we had to go to a virtual event. So basically, what we will be doing is we'll have a web page set up where you're going to have all of that educational information. You're going to see and learn about that direct link that Niagara has, because what a lot of people don't realize and understand is we were basically, Niagara was basically the hub. Like um, a lot of escaped slaves, when they were running for freedom, they ran and crossed into Canada through Niagara. So we've got a very rich history with that date, and I don't think a lot of us know that, and a lot of wonderful details, some not so great. I don't think a lot of people know that right down at that Niagara River, where if you're a local, in the summertime, that's where we go hiking. And it just, sometimes I just sit on the rock and I just imagine what it was like for these slaves to come down to that water. And at the same time, they've been running for freedom for 3 or 4 weeks on foot in, the worst conditions, the elements, exposed to the elements. And then they get down to that rock where they are crossing over into Canada. But they also have to be cautious of the slave catchers, who are literally down there on their horses waiting to catch them before they actually cross that river and gain their freedom. So
Downers.
there's a lot. We've got a very interesting history with that, and we're directly connected to it. So I call it the Can American because we are linked to them.
Yes, we are.
Yes, indeed.
Agreed.
Well, that's like North America, really. That's
Hmm.
like, we might as well just adopt that name with everything we've doing to follow suit. It's like, oh no, we don't have racism up here. It's not as prevalent. Wait,
Yeah, no, that's not true.
I went, I went through 5 property managers, and ain't none of them look like me.
Right. Yeah.
That at one location, it's like, hold on a second. I put up
Have
this
you?
thing yesterday, and I'm still getting responses. It's like, I put up my music, people look past it, but I put up controversial questions, and everybody has an opinion. Um, so the question was, how many people have had a male black teacher, and when was it?
Hmm.
And the answer, the greater percentage of them, it was later on in their lives. Like a significant number of them have never had one at all.
Likewise.
Yeah, I've never
I
had a black male teacher or a
Nope.
female teacher. Never.
Nope.
And I've university, college, high school, never. My
None.
son, never.
None.
And that's a
Mm.
problem. Why is that?
I
Not
did
that.
hear.
Why
Sorry,
is
go ahead.
that? Are you going to
I
tell me
don't
that there's no black teachers?
know, because I went to school with teachers, like with black men who are now teachers. I did hear one creative answer from one gentleman, and I think you might know him as well. He said he has many, and I'm one of them. But I think he was referring to
Mm,
like learning from each individual
yeah, yeah.
as a teacher. So I I shout him out for that. But I don't know. I can't think, like, that stunned me. I can remember 2 teachers, Miss Chatterton Downs. She was like a guidance counselor in elementary school, and then I had Miss
Hmm.
Young for English for grade 9
Hmm.
and I think grade 10. And other than that, I remember a teacher named Mr. Gomez, and he was an English media teacher. He was in a Chunky Soup commercial one time. But yeah, that's about it.
I had
And Django, yeah.
she might have been East Indian. Her name was Miss Patel. Was closest to, I would say, anything color at the school,
Mm,
or someone I could relate to, but
yeah,
not even close, right?
yeah.
English teacher named Mr. Black, the most
Huh.
English man I've ever met, but he wasn't black by any means.
I was
Yeah.
gonna ask.
Yeah, his name was
Well,
Black. I was so confused. I was like, yo, we got a teacher named Mr. Black. We got a teacher named Mr. Black. Brother gotta be black. Walk in. Hello, Lonsley. Why don't you sit down and put your books we're gonna read today? And I'm like, your name Mr. Black? Yeah, that's me. I'm like, so where's the black
well,
guy at?
yeah.
No,
I
yeah.
uh I actually went as too far as because my son, when he was little, he was one of those kids who just loved school. Like this kid was up at 7 o'clock. Mommy, it's the time for school. And by the
Hmm.
time he was in grade 1, I saw that love for school fade. And
Wow.
I knew just by how he was coming home, and it was, he was getting the reality check that young, of the ignorance and the racism. And I went after going to the school. Um, I remember I printed off 5,000 copies of a letter, which I distributed around the neighborhood, put in mailboxes like, listen, my child has a right to come to school and learn just like yours without that background harassment, without that ignorance attached to it. So have this conversation about race with your child. If you need help having that conversation or you don't know how to have it, here's my phone number. But my child used to love school, and now because of what's happening to him at school via
Hates
teachers
it.
and other students, um, it's not happening for him. And I did have a couple parents call me like, "Oh my God, I had no idea it was my kid," but I ended up taking him out of school here in Canada for that very reason, that he was not able to have a teacher that looked like him and understand him. And I drove him to school every day to Buffalo for a year, just so he could have that experience,
That
that
relatability.
stress. Just yeah, it was more of, on top of going to school, and kids struggle with learning and certain subjects. So on top of that, having to deal with the mental and emotional of being constantly um
Different.
attacked and insulted about your race, like I
Yeah.
wanted to remove that for him, so you could just get to go to school and be a normal kid like everybody else. And he had black classmates, he had black teachers, and I basically was trying to undo the last 2 years of his schooling here in Canada. And just by having, and it did work, like he went back to loving school. But I had to go that far. I drove, my friends are like, you're crazy. But because I'm American and his father's American, he's entitled to American citizenship as a citizen born abroad. So I got his
Nice.
paperwork set, and I put him in school over there for a year.
She put in that work. Oh
Put
my
in that
God.
Yeah,
work. You,
I'm
yeah,
you knew what it meant for him. You knew what it meant
yeah,
for him
because I
as an
was a
adult.
victim of it. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that
yeah.
is that's
It was
awesome. That's
extremely
stellar.
disappointing to me because I thought that it wouldn't be anything like that for him,
Mm.
like it was for me. And when I saw it, I know the damage it can do, because it literally tears away at the core of who he is as a young black man. And it's done year after year after year after year. And I thought, I can't let that happen to him. I
Yep.
cannot let that happen to him. So yeah.
And the worst part is they'll try to fight you to keep them in that kind of situation. Oh no, it's perfectly fine. Go
Yeah.
talk to them. We'll get this
Yeah.
handled. We'll remedy it. We'll we got zero tolerance. Okay, zero.
Zero.
I can understand at one point maybe it was a situation, but when it happens multiple times across an extended period of time with the same set of individuals, and you can identify that and still do nothing about it,
Yeah.
the problem no longer is the children, it's the faculty.
Yeah. Well, I
And
found it was, they minimized it. Well, are you sure that, well, I mean, why would they call him, say you're brown like a piece of shit? What does that have to, you know what I mean? You're going to tell me that's not racial? I
yeah,
mean,
chocolate's
and
brown.
it was constantly they were trying to minimize the incidents, minimize it. And it wasn't coming for just from the students. You got teachers telling him, you know, you can't be a lawyer. You need to be realistic.
What?
What?
Oh, and when I confronted her about it, she said, yes, I did tell him he needs to be realistic about, black men just can't be lawyers.
I'm 28 and 3 without a law degree.
That's that shit, bro. That's
And
that.
this was
I'm
a teacher. Like, how do you look at a baby? How
And
do you
give
look
him
at a
that option.
child who's full of their hopes and their dreams and what they can be or want to
Yeah.
be, and just
And you tell
tear
him
him down
his
like that?
options. You tell
Yeah.
him his options aren't allowed to be
Yeah.
that.
Like, oh, be realistic. And she totally
oof.
admitted that she said that to him.
How much longer was
Wow.
she working there? It doesn't seem
She will
like that
continue
much.
working there.
She continued to work there.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with
What?
her.
And that is
Exactly.
why I removed him from that school. And that she continued to work there.
Yeah. This is the
That
shit that
is
continues.
appalling. That's
There's nothing.
appalling.
Anyone around her doesn't see that is an actual issue.
Exactly.
The energy is okay because that's what
Yeah.
majority of, and it's hard for me to say it this way, but majority obviously who is around her will raise the same way. Accept it. She will
Yeah.
say something like that, but it's not towards their kids. It's towards someone else's kids. So it's fine.
Yeah. And I don't think
No.
people, it's like my mother said a couple weeks ago. She goes, um, especially when we were little kids, she said, you teach your kids before you let them out into the world and it's time for them to go to school. She said, like all parents, you teach your child when you have them at home, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're intelligent, you do this well, you do that well. And she said, then when it's time to put them into our schooling system, you take their little hand and you walk them into a building where
He's safe.
everything they want to be, every dream they have is literally going to be ripped away piece by piece from this institution, this system that you're putting them in, but you have no choice because you cannot. And back then, homeschooling wasn't a big thing, right? So a lot of, and she's a single working mother in school and working. Like the idea of schooling just wasn't an option. But she said, you take their little hand and you walk them into this building and you know what's going to happen to them, but you have no choice and you do it.
What I
And I thought that is very profound because as a Black person, what this poor kid, what they're
And
about to be exposed to.
and I think that's why we have to elevate them beyond where we have to elevate
we
them beyond a certain point, so because we know people are going to bring them down. It's like for me, it's like I on in my best setting, I'm a
Mhm.
politician or I'm a political advocate. But I say that to anybody that's like, no, you're not. You rap.
Listen
No,
to the lyrics.
you know what I mean? But and that's the thing. It's like tearing people down has become the new normal. I see it online all the time. It's like I put up an opinion or someone puts up an opinion. Someone disagrees with the opinion. Instead of just continuing on like they would if they were a passerby in a conversation, they now have the artillery to engage in conflict that is resident in, I want to say, at least 70% of online users. And it's like, where do you get the time to focus so much hatred towards anything? And do you
well
realize that it's really projected from an issue with yourself?
inside.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
remember when
because
I was doing the Justice for Black Lives demonstration and I was hanging the flyers and it was growing, and all of a sudden, like you said, and I was ignorant to the power of social media and also, the so-called trolls. And I remember when Fallon, who
Yeah.
does the LGBTQT is it SIIS organization, and she's very big in that movement. I remember when she was petitioning the city to have the crosswalk done, and when it finally was passed, um, we linked up to have a little celebration, and she was telling me about the online trolls in the comments, and when she showed me some of these comments, I was like
appalled.
like you said, the hate was unbelievable to me, the things that people were saying. And when I did the Justice for Black Lives, and like I said, it started to grow, it started to happen to me. And I remember calling her in tears and like, I don't know if I can put myself out like this. Like these people don't even know me. Like, why are they saying these things about me? And she said, Sherri, do not read those things. You are going to be, and that took me back to remembering when I remember when she was showing me what they were saying. And I'm like, a crosswalk? You're doing all this and saying all this to this girl because she's putting a crosswalk? Like, oh, it was terrible. I can't even repeat. They were so
Sad.
insidious. It was, the hate was just unbelievable.
Let's not miss
Unbelievable.
let's not miss Brand Savage. We have some couth. There are people who are just relentless. There are people who
I
are
said
just
seven, and I was like, no, don't say that one.
okay. I just that's what I
Like
was saying.
vile.
Yeah,
Vile.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So she is watching right now actually. So we got to give a shout out to
Hey,
Fallon
Hey,
Sharp's
Shaw.
darling.
brother.
Happy
What
Sunday.
up? What up,
Happy
Shaw
What
girl?
Sunday.
up?
Fally saves the world. She's trying to one person at a time. You know what I mean? I had a conversation with her. Her and her partner are on the cover of issue 7 of the Culture Shock magazine.
Awesome
Um,
cover.
Thank you. Thank you. That is available
Issue
online.
7.
Yes, it is. Oh my goodness. This is getting it's I don't want to say it's getting easier because that's when it's going to get complicated, but it's definitely every page is fulfilling. Like every story that we put in there is something that I feel will reach somebody and change their perspective on the way they're living right now. And I hope that, you know what I mean, they take some good out of what's coming across. This month was full of women. I would have put you in there again, but you were in like February and March. I didn't want to overwhelm you by approaching you
Yeah,
again
I
for the third one.
did. Yeah.
Okay. But
The
yes,
fly
and
girl of Culture Shock.
yeah, the cover hit home with a lot of people when you were on it. So you know that was awesome
Yeah, I
that
got
you're
a
on
lot of
there.
positive feedback from that. Thank you
Okay,
for that. That was a
you were
really nice surprise. I was like, oh, wow, I didn't say I was going to be on the cover. That was
well,
awesome. Yeah, a lot
you
of
know,
great
culture
feedback
shock.
from that. Yeah,
Okay, that's what
yeah.
we
We do
do.
things
So,
in the shocking way.
And I think that was
yeah.
a perfect picture too. I think
Okay,
that was,
good.
yeah,
Yeah, and it was like it was a rich tone. I was just like, yes, I'm gonna do it, and I went on there, and like as I placed it on a page, I was gonna shrink it, and then I saw it on the page. I was just like, no, put the tag right there and call it a day.
yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
What I hope goes forward is, just more understanding. Less
Mhm.
people trying to engage where they're arguing right away instead of trying to learn something. That's
right.
not how you engage. If you argue with me right off thinking you're engaging with me, I'm going to ignore you. That's not
Yeah,
how you engage. And if someone's yelling at you at home, unlearn it and relearn something better. Because
yeah,
engaging with me is not yelling at me, not tearing me down, not saying, oh, you're an idiot for saying the word king. You guys are followers. That's not how you engage. Ask
Uh,
me, what does it mean? Why do you say? What does it do for your soul, spirit? In case those words weren't taught to you, then I guess that's why this engaging is to kick you down, step on you, spit on you without understanding anything. And
yeah,
I really will engage better.
it's
yeah.
funny that you bring that up specifically because I
Mm.
remember, I think you were a part of that conversation.
Oh, yeah.
I was online one time. Again, this is just personal reflection. My dad always told me the best experience you can share is the one you had. So, I was online and I greet everybody. Like, I think I spoke to you shortly after this issue, actually, Sherry.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I greet most people by the title king unless they're female, and I say queen or empress. Just because of that, building them up, not knowing who else is tearing people down. You know what I mean? So I put that in a conversation one time. Someone was in that conversation and took it out on their own post and said, I don't know why all these people are out there calling each other king when it doesn't denote any aspect of monarchy. If you looked at the aspects of monarchy, you would actually realize that a king is someone who by lineage, blah, 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 and all
Yeah.
And then
kinds
the
of
and then the
hateful
rest
bull.
of it sounded like this. That's what
You
the
know what I
rest of it
mean?
sounded like.
So then I say, you know what? I engage him, just like El said, respectfully. I say, you know what? I refer to people by this terminology because we were all at some point in time directly descendants of kings and queens, the monarchy of some nature. And it's been it's like bastardization of history that has changed your perspective on the
Hmm.
origin of education and things like that. Well,
Yeah.
Well,
did he not have friends who wanted to say more things that were in line with his garbage? And it's just like, I got to the point where it's just like, there's no compelling this amount of ignorance to see rationality.
none.
So, how do you do it? Because, like,
Very, very delicately because you don't, and it's hard. It's like a
It
jigsaw
is.
puzzle. You don't want to miss the opportunity to educate. So, especially when you're
Mm.
talking about things like that, you
mm,
know, it's white fragility, right?
Hmm.
And it's it's like a bomb. You know what I mean? You got to make sure you
mm,
don't light that fuse because once they get to that point where they want to get technical and they want to break down and they want to dismiss the reality
Everything.
of the situation and and then you lose them. And like you said, it goes to that combative, that argumentative, and it's that whole, you got to give a little bit. And it is ridiculous that you cannot, like you said, where's the logic in this? Do you understand how ignorant you sound?
Yeah.
And it is very hard, but it is definitely a learned skill. And that's what I keep reiterating to white people. When you are going to call yourself an ally and you're going to align yourself to fight for this cause and become join the movement of anti-racism, you need to be prepared for what you're going to go up against. And it's going to be that stone wall of just straight up ignorance and combativeness and arguing. And you have to make a decision, like, am I going to be able to get this person back down to where I can give you a little bit of information to maybe change your ideology or your thought process or your perspective on this subject? Or is it just a lost cause? And it comes to a point where you kind of got to navigate who you think you can get through to and know when to walk away from it. Pick your battles, kind of.
And that's why the sucker ended up blocked and deleted. But
blocked and blessed, honey. Blocked and blessed.
You know what I mean? Blocked and blessed. You know what I mean? I like that better. Blocked and blessed. Bye.
Yeah.
It's true, because I engage the situation thinking, how much energy am I going to put out here before this person understands that they're continuing to be the person that chooses to be ignorant? How do I put energy forth where they completely realize, okay, I'm choosing not to see this. I'm the one saying I don't see color. But as soon as I turn around, I go, oh, what's that blue shirt? And it's just like, listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. You are choosing to be on the side of ignorance by completely telling yourself nothing's wrong.
Yeah. Or nothing's like I said, they go right to that
see color.
Technical.
I don't see color. Yeah. Nothing's wrong.
I'm not racist. I have black friends. Oh my gosh. No, but like but then there are people who are misrepresented, right?
Yes,
because they don't look like they have a particular degree of color or culture to them. It's like, I know someone who was misrepresented as a white guy when he's actually indigenous as well as part East Indian. So it's like, hi, he's helping us run this right now. So it's like how, like, there's no point at which I feel anyone should try to gauge where someone comes from. If you want to know where I come from, just ask me. It's like I've approached people before. Even going back to people of the community. I'm like, you lose me after LGBTQ. I know there's like a QIA in there. Yeah. Plus, I'm that's why I said the community. So but I remember approaching an individual from the community and being like, forgive me, I mean this with the utmost of respect, but how do I address you? And I'm glad they had a sense of humor, because they looked at me and it's like, what do you mean? Call me by my name. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So what's your name? You know what I mean? Go ahead.
I want to say something that really points out some things that I don't want to like dismiss. And that's probably because the conversation is really strong. And I definitely want to say, I apologize as well for when I moved to Canada, I was taught something. And that's when the realization of me starting to understand what racism actually does to your mentality and your soul, and what you actually end up feeding to others, because that's what it does. It continues a cycle. And because I was taught, and forgive me, Batiman, to hate and dislike, and when I came and didn't understand what that meant, that person is a person as well, and someone asked me, what would you do if you had a gay kid? And because my exposure was to be beaten until the kid understood what gay isn't or supposed to be, that was my answer as well. So I was like conflicted now, realizing I'm saying some wrong shit and I didn't even know. So I ain't bullshitting you when I say go unlearn something and learn something better. That's what it means. Check out because you don't know what the hell you're saying. Check back in when you know better.
Yeah. And a
You
lot
know
of people
what?
are really reluctant to do that because it
Nope.
challenges. And I think, especially when you're talking about race, or, like you said, if someone said to you, what would you do if you had a gay kid? My answer is, I'd have a gay kid.
Ah,
You know what I mean? Like it
Simple
would,
as that.
yeah,
yeah, that simple. It wouldn't matter to me. As a parent, you just want your child to be happy.
Yep.
yep,
And it, it is a very touchy subject, and you're right. There was a lot of things that I had to learn too. One of my best friends, when her son came out, I used to always say, you know, if we're talking about something or laughing or whatever, or they did something silly, I used to be like, "Oh, you're so gay,"
Mm.
and I would say it all the time. And I did not mean, my intention was not to offend, and I did not mean a gay person per se. It was just a saying I've been saying for years. And
Yes.
yeah,
she had never said anything to me about it. And then once her son came out, she said, Sherri, that's really offensive. Can you stop? And at first
Mm.
I was like, but
What?
you know me, we've been friends for so long. You know that's not what I mean at all. Like, and she
Yep.
said, it doesn't matter. It's how I'm perceiving it. It's how I'm taking it. And at first I had a little bit of attitude, like, what are you saying about me? I know you
Yep.
know better than to think that I'm even saying it in that context. But I had to really, like you said, I had to go relearn. Like, doesn't matter how I intend or how I think it's going out. It's how they're
It's
taking
how
it, how
it's
they're perceiving it.
received.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and it's offensive. So I really had to make a conscious effort not to say it, because I was so used to it in my vocabulary. I had to unlearn it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, you're right. You have to be willing to, and it didn't mean I was a bad, terrible, horrible person. I just had
Yep.
to accept the reality is that these people are not perceiving it, absorbing it, or taking it in the way that I think I'm delivering it. So
Right.
regardless of how I say it, it's offensive to them, and I need to stop.
yeah,
Boom.
yeah. And you know what? But you took the time to acknowledge that, reflect on it, and do better. I think I want to make a shirt that says "I choose to do better."
Because it is a choice. And then when I say I
Yep.
had to make a conscious effort, that's really what it was. I
Yep.
would actually be laughing, or, because it always came out in that kind of, when those kind of
Scenario. Yeah.
conversations. Yeah, it was never like a serious, I had to, like, oh, don't do it, don't say it. Like, it's
Yep.
offensive. Remember, I really had to relearn and teach myself this is no longer a word
No.
in your vocabulary that you
Not
can
cool.
just throw around and use. And
Yeah,
it was a conscious effort. And after about 6 months, it was gone. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I had done it so much, but at first, yeah, you have to, like you said, you have to relearn.
yeah, yeah. And even that, like, depending on how long you've actually practiced something, that takes even more time. It's like me and profanities. The being around children as often as I am, it's
Yeah.
like, you're around adults, it's whatever, it slips and, but you're around kids, it's like you got to make a conscious effort. And it's not easy when you are in
Yeah.
one scenario for the greater percentage of the time,
Mm-hmm.
and then, intermittently involved in other scenarios. So
Yeah. And I
it's,
think I think it's like Longzy said, when you confront that, and this is like my best friend of 30 years.
Yeah.
My instant reaction was, of course, defensiveness, because what she was saying to me was about how I was receiving it was, what I was saying and what I was doing. It was ugly and it was dark and I was a bad person. And I attached that to, and that's where the defensiveness came
You
from. And
attached
that's
it to
not
the
what she was saying
emotion.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what she was saying to me at all. Like, you're not a bad person, and
No.
you're not ignorant, but this.
You're saying this thing.
Yeah, yeah, but I think that's where that argumentative and that combative, and if you're not open to the fact that, hey, I need to pull it together, I need to, maybe
Yep.
there's some meat to what she's saying,
Yep.
you
that's
know, that's how
that's
you
When you have
get
to.
stuck, and you want to argue, and you don't want to look at things differently. You don't want to relearn, because you get in that defensive mode, and you're taking it personal. And it's
Yep.
not a personal attack on
It's
who
not.
you are at the core of as an individual. It's a
No.
practice. It's something you've been doing, and somebody saying to you, "Hey, it's offensive, and I need you to stop."
Yep.
yeah. But
Yep.
then you have people that will, like, be the inverse of what you described, the course of action that you took. they will be even more combative. They'll go out of their way. They'll be manipulative and they'll manipulate information and become vindictive and provoke responses that are unwarranted and create dramatic circumstances that can complicate others' lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
The
Yeah.
experience
why?
Go ahead.
And that's that resistance, right? That resistance to challenge what you think you know,
Mhm.
you think it's factual, and
Yep.
there's that's where that defensiveness comes from. That's that resistance to think that, oh, I'm a bad person, and they're wrong. I know what I'm talking about. That resistance comes, and when that resistance pops up, then you cling on to that ignorance because somebody's challenging what you think you
Yep.
know.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the clarity is, just because you know it, it doesn't mean that that's the only path. It doesn't mean
Exactly.
that that is the only example, right? We keep saying these literal things and sayings like many ways to cut a chicken, million ways to kill a chicken or cook one, but yet we keep going, well, this way is the only way.
Yeah.
This is all I know.
Yeah.
Well, you can learn
Yeah.
something else. It's not all you know, it's all you choose to know.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of the one of the posters I kept from the rally, and I actually have up on the wall, is basically speaks to the fact that you can no longer, turn your a blind eye to this. You can't say you don't know anymore. You know what I mean? You can't
You'd be
say
surprised how
that's not
many
accept.
still
Yeah,
do.
yeah, that's not acceptable anymore.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
that is the true ignorance. What? Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah,
2021?
you can't say that
Really?
anymore.
Nope.
You'll make me
Nope.
do
Yeah,
this. I will laugh and
yeah,
just complete awkwardness. Like, oh, really? Next.
Yeah.
yeah. My friends call me the white people whisperer because they're
Oh,
like,
let me tell you
you.
something.
They're like, girl, you just have the patience, and I'm like, well, there's no other way to do it.
Yes,
I feel like this
I
this
now have to understand that.
yeah, I feel like somebody has got to be the bigger person. Somebody has to sit down and deal with the white resistance, deal with the white fragility. And if I can educate you on that, you have that, and it's likely to show up. If I can get you to accept that about that and be conscious of it, then I can move to the next step and educate you on facts in
Mhm.
hopes to change your ideology and your perspective on the way you're thinking about this subject. So
Yeah.
it starts there, and nobody was doing that,
No. Thank you.
and nobody wants to do it. That's the thing. Like all my black friends are like, they have they have access to the same
They
resources we have, and why should we have to? And they're right. They are right. But somebody has to say, because I mean,
say it.
we have not changed what we've been saying. We have not changed how we've been demonstrating the injustice for centuries. The only
It's
difference
true.
now is that we actually have white people who have eyes that are willing to see now and ears
Yes.
that are willing to listen. And we
Agreed.
got to pounce on it.
And
We
I
have to
think
pounce on it.
part of it, like, and it's a global surgence of people that are
Mm.
standing up for their causes. I mean, you have the political right, like political demonstrations. I didn't say right, the political demonstrations, and you have the gatherings like all over the world that people are just saying, you know what, we outnumber those in control. If
Hmm.
we
Yeah.
unite, we have control.
Yeah.
It's that
Correct.
simple. Like,
It's like I say, for the first time, and I think this is why it's so huge, and the movement is so massive, and I really feel like we're moving towards change. Is it something that's going to change overnight? Absolutely not. But we're inspiring the leaders of tomorrow. People are standing up. More importantly, white people are not willing to stand in the shadows of this anymore and be part of that white solidarity and uphold
That's
that ignorance. They're stepping out into, okay, there's got to be some meat to this, and I feel like we have to come together and like, okay, I got you. Well, let's, this is how we do it. This is what you need to know. This is what you should know if you really, really want to know what's going on and why it's going on. This is what you're going
like
to have to do,
the
yep.
scary part
and
is
you're going to have to step up, and you're going to have to challenge. You got to dismiss. I tell them all the time, you know, what I'm going to say is going to be hard to listen. It might cause you angry, the defensiveness. I need you to leave it all at the door, take a deep
mhm.
breath, and just try. And even if I can just get you to change your mind about one issue. And when you're done
One
with
issue.
me, yeah, you go and look it up and look, because a lot of what their ignorance is based on is not factual. None
Not
of
at
it's fact.
all.
It's just
Yeah.
straight up ignorance.
Mm.
So if I can lead you in the direction where you even think, okay, maybe there's something to what she's saying. Maybe I should go look a little deeper. That's more than what you were doing last week on that
Mhm.
subject in that area. So that's when I say moving that needle forward for change, it's baby steps like that.
Speaking of
Sherri,
baby steps, what do you think about the locations around Niagara that do represent Black history?
What locations are
which
there?
ones?
Uh,
Yeah.
there
I
are
mean, other
apparently,
than the history museum, and that's pretty recent. I
yeah,
really don't know of any
That's
okay,
other
why I
than,
was.
like St. Catherine's, and they have the Harriet Tubman and thing. But I mean, there's so much more to our Black community and our
Yeah,
Black history here in the Niagara region.
than
And I think
one
they
or two
failed the
people.
community miserably in that area. And that's one of the things that Justice for Black Lives is working on too, with a lot of other grassroots Black organizations that are here now, is that, celebrate us,
yeah,
celebrate,
Hmm.
your Black community, expose the community to the culture and the food, and none of that's ever been done in the Niagara region.
well, okay. He popped in. He usually does that when he's got something interesting to say. So,
Well, with
Okay.
like the locations that are in like Niagara on the lakes that have the monument there, and it's kind of off the beaten path. If you don't know about it, I was explaining to Lonsley a few weeks ago because we have an idea for some shows to do, an eating show as well as local history sites that they've put up.
Mhm.
Like there is
Mhm.
one there for the abolishment of the Canadian Slavery Act that's there and whatnot. But it is kind of off the beaten path, and I really actually try and send a lot of people to a lot of the different places. Like even the
Yeah.
inside the carousel has a bunch of plaques and that about an old annual picnic that used to go on there, where there'd be hundreds of people there celebrating. And
It's where my mom
again,
and dad met.
yeah,
It was
and
the Colored
apparently a lot of
Brotherhood
people
picnic.
don't know about this
Wow.
history, and I actually
wow.
share these pictures and
I
everything
drive past it all the time.
with
Yeah.
many people as I can. And like I said, me, Lownsley,
It
and
was, my mother explained to me, like back in the day, it was the one thing that Black people look forward to all year. And it was because the Black people from the States would come over, and it was the thing for the Black community. That was about it. And that's where my mom and dad met.
Wow.
nice. But
That's
Yeah.
yeah, there is monuments and little. I guess it is an atrocity. It's not as large as it should be, in my opinion, for people of
Yeah.
color, or actually in many ways, if Canada is treated many different races as it is. But
Hmm.
there is some in Niagara, and I do try to point people to them because it is part
Yeah.
of everybody's culture. But like I said to Lonsley, there's one in Niagara Lake, and he didn't even know. I had to like show him where to go and that, and where
Yeah.
to go by there.
Yeah, I had to
And I
map
think
it
Yeah.
this
out and
is,
was like,
yeah,
really?
yeah.
mm,
There's a
And he's been
beautiful
in that.
one in Fort Erie too. I didn't
Yep.
know about it until there's a lady that does tours out Waverly Beach, I want to say, and then you go to a different location on the Parkway, and there's actually um, these statues right by the water.
Yep.
And it's a statue of a woman passing a child, like just showing how, there was a rope. And when you look at the rapids right there, that area, that's where they were, some of them were crossing to come into Canada. And you look at how vicious those rapids are and that water is, and to think, but they do have a statue there. And it is of, a slave woman passing the little boy, and like they're about to cross the Niagara River on with this rope and
Wow.
risk their life. Yeah. And
The
I
funny
didn't know
thing,
anything about it and didn't know it was there. I don't even know how long it's been there. But
how I
wow.
found
as
out
a
about
Black person, and yeah, we don't know anything about them.
how I
Nobody's
found
talking
about
about
it,
these.
the local stuff like that, is my second youngest. She's really into history of the areas. So like when we
Hmm.
lived up north, she was looking into the 100-year fires and everything else. So we explored everything. And then when we moved down here, it was like, oh, there is so much more culture and knowledge to
Yeah.
be learned in this area that is not being pushed by our politicians or our local artists, because
Mm-mm.
none of them know. They
Exactly.
put a statue up and then
Exactly.
move on, and it
Yeah,
doesn't matter if it's for
exactly.
black rights, Indian rights.
Yeah.
There is so
I
much
don't even
culture
think
in this
people
area.
know that the NAACP,
Nope.
their very first meetings were held in Fort Erie.
Yep.
This is a
What?
massive organization. Yes. Yes, the
Queenston's
NAACP, their
Queenston is
meetings,
where
their first meetings were held in Fort Erie
yeah, and
because they
Queenston's
were
where Laura
not allowed to
Secord
gather in the United States. They had to secretly, yeah.
and Queenston's where
Wow.
Laura Secord found out that the Americans were going to do attack, and she walked into St. Catharines to warn everybody.
That I
Hmm.
knew.
Yeah. Well, it's do you know how many people don't know that Laura
That's like
Secord
a.
made a big change in the way the War of 1812 came out?
Hmm.
They think
Mm.
she's just the chocolate lady or the ice cream lady.
I have friends in the States that don't even know who Laura Secord is. It's not taught.
I hate to say it, man. Your friends in the
Not
states
taught.
are uninformed.
Not
They weren't
taught.
taught.
There you go.
They weren't taught
Not taught.
Yeah,
Not
Yeah.
because
taught.
it was
because
it
she's a
was not
traitor to
yeah,
America.
exactly.
She's a
Yeah.
traitor to America. So why
And you
would
want to know how
I,
history repeats?
Yeah.
That shit right
Without
there.
being taught, without
Yeah.
being notified of what has happened in the past. And if you don't know
Right?
what happened in the past, how can you avoid those pitfalls going forward?
But
yeah,
Yeah.
we know of grander forefathers who have done some maliciously crazy things, but still that information came forward.
Yeah.
teach me about Marcus Garvey, please. You
Right.
know what I mean? I
Yep.
like in the issue in February's issue, I was going through because it bothered me greatly that the first thing they want to teach our children about is slavery, except outside of the fact that we were educators and kings, queens, and conquerors alike. But so I brought up the conversation with not only the teacher but the principal and the office of the premier, and we got into a long drawn out conversation. But long story short of it, I said, you know what, I have a medium by which, and I'm glad that you have Bob in the background there, I have a medium by which I can inform and educate. So I put Selassie as the first one of the first pages in the book, and not a lot of people know about Haile Selassie and
Mhm.
his conquest. He was a very peaceful conqueror, but he had a way about him that developed a reputation that you knew if you were going over for, you knew if you went over for dinner and you weren't going to be, and it wasn't a peaceful engagement, you weren't leaving that dinner.
No,
Like,
you leave
That
peacefully.
was your
Yeah,
last dinner.
that
that
was
was
your
your
last
last
dinner.
dinner. The last I didn't play.
Yeah,
so,
you learn how
so
to
you know,
leave peacefully.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a well, I mean, let's be honest. They've been very selective. Like I said, we have to, white people should be upset because your educational institutions, they have bamboozled you. They have not, they romanticize the white man's history, and we have to start teaching the truth. This is why all these monuments are coming down and streets are being renamed because the true history is being told. Earlier when I was talking to you guys about that author who reached out to me from the UK, he said
Yes.
something to me that absolutely floored me. He
Mm.
said, as a British living over there in England, he said that in their schools, they were not taught about the British role in slavery. And I said, are you kidding me? The British are the original colonizers. He's like,
Yeah,
they do not teach us that. What they do
that's
is
very
they
real.
put it all
Oh
on
my
America.
god.
I said, are you like the original colonizers? He's like, that's not, they don't teach it in the schools here.
Well,
He's
the
like,
other
I
thing
had no
they
idea. I was a grown man when I found out the massive role that the British played in slavery trade.
another thing I also learned moving here was, do you also realize there's concentration camps from Nazi sites
No, I did not know that.
in Niagara region? There used to be World War II concentration camps on Canadian soil
Wow.
for Germans,
No,
and there's many sites within this area.
really.
Yeah, it's
That is
amazing when you
news.
actually start looking into stuff on your own and you start searching, you start realizing we're not as nice as Canadians as we thought we were.
Mm.
We're just
And
better at covering it up.
our role in world politics and slavery, mass murder, and everything else from any nationality to our own local indigenous is it's pretty appalling, and it's only slowly coming out on how bad
Yeah.
actually Canadian history is compared to what we're taught.
Well, it's like David said, it's North America. And Canada wants to remove itself from that so badly. You can't. You can't. You can't. They're so quick to say, "Oh, that doesn't happen here. It's not like that in Canada." It's not the same, but it definitely is just as bad. You know what I
It's
mean?
it's even deeper. It's
Yes,
even deeper
because it's
ignorance. We hear,
emotional
well,
and mental.
it's
Like I
even
said,
deeper.
I do not fear for my physical well-being. As far as if I get pulled over by a cop here in Canada, I don't fear like I don't fear that I'm going to get assaulted on the side of the road or possibly end up dead. I don't fear that at all because it's done differently here. It's
Mhm.
I
actually, like I said, I actually got more respect for how they do it in the States than they do here because here it's an everyday, it's your mental, it's your emotional, and it's like the black lady I heard on TV, she said it's death by paper cuts. And
Yeah.
we all know
mm,
paper cuts are very painful, and most of the time you can't even see them. They don't even bring blood to the surface, but they hurt
no,
and they linger and they sting. And that's that was a perfect analogy for me when she said that.
Hmm.
mm,
Took
mm.
that in.
You know what? Like y'all talking some things that are way too relative to my life because my hand is covered in paper cuts from some of the work I was doing yesterday, and I washed my hands and I felt I'm not even
Did you
like
feel
I
that
used the
sting?
oh my gosh, I used the antiseptic and it stung, and I'm just like ah. So I'm
Yeah,
literally feeling all the words that we're having in this conversation right
Mhm.
now.
yeah,
This is
it's true.
episode 87 of Candid Conversations, and like
Yeah.
we have some great personalities here. We have Sherri Darlene, we got LG, we got DUI, also known as Jason. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. Um, so was there anybody you wanted to shout out? Like, was there any cause or
I have
I
to
guess
run,
person
guys.
to direct some attention to? All right, cool.
Oh, I got a question.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Question is, as you continue your journey to educate, what are some tactical educational ways that you may have to approach to get the multiple to actually listen? Because like you said, you've been changing and approaching and changing and approaching, and now that you figured out the approach, is the approach the same for everyone?
No, no. It's not. I think one of um, one of the skills that you have to do when you do this kind of work is you have to very quickly assess where this person's at with their ideology, where they're at. You have to meet them where they're at and bring them along. We often, and I think this is why these conversations go foul and end in argument and debate and confrontation. Uh,
Sideways.
yeah, I think they go sideways because people like myself, like this is why I say 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been successful at this because
Hmm.
my message would have got lost in the anger because I would have engaged in that. I would have engaged
Yes.
in that combative conversation, that debating. And I'm not here to do that. What you have to do is you have to figure out where they're at. Okay, so at least they're willing to accept that there's something wrong with the system. So if I find somebody who's there, who's willing to admit, a month before, nothing wrong with the system, they don't see it change. They're just black people just aren't working hard enough. So if I can get you to at least admit, okay, now I'm seeing something. There might be some meat to what you're saying as far as this system is not designed. So if I
Mhm.
can get you to admit that, then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pounce on exposing you to the actual facts. The
Bam.
actual facts. So you can come up, you can, like Obama said, you're entitled to your opinion,
Yeah.
but
Say
what you
whatever you want.
cannot do, you can't change the facts. So I
Mhm.
find when you meet a person where they're at and then you give them that factual, hardcore statistics, like, no, I'm not making this up. I'm not just saying this. This is actually what's happening. These are the facts. This is the reality of it. Here is straight up facts documented. So if I see that you're willing to admit, okay, there might be something, then I'm instantly going to bring you to that education to step up. So there you can't, whether you
Yeah.
agree with it or not, you can't not
Can't
see
stop
that,
that.
okay, you can't stop that. and it's going to make you want to know more, or you're going to stop there because you don't want to accept it. Either way, I've moved that needle a little tiny bit, and hopefully you're going to continue so that you can catch up where I'm at, because I've met you. Because like I said, if you try to, if I try to bring you to where I am, there's that huge gap in the middle where you don't even have any concept of what I'm trying to say to you. So naturally, you're going to be defensive. You don't have the information. You're not equipped with the knowledge that you need to be where I'm at.
Yeah.
So I have to educate. I have to fill that gap in, and why it is. That's why it is such tedious, difficult work. Because, like I said, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You got to figure out each individual is different with this. They're different where they're at, and you got to meet them there. Some people, like I said, you just have to decide to, like you said, block and bless. These are people who are not willing to listen to the facts, not willing to accept that, okay, maybe the playing ground has never been leveled. Maybe it's been deliberately set up to keep Black people in cement shoes at the starting line.
Yeah, there's some people who just refuse to see it that way, though, because there's opportunities for everybody, and there's no difference between one person of one culture trying to get a job in a particular field compared to another person of a different culture trying to get that job. Yeah, there's favoritism.
Go ahead, finish what you're saying. Sorry.
I was saying, yeah, there's favoritism. There's favoritism in a lot of things that happen out there. I mean, like, I've been in lineups for jobs, and I've looked at them. I've looked at the line and looked at myself and been like, yeah, I ain't getting this job. I was surprised some of the occupations. Yeah, I was surprised to see some of the places I was actually able to work, because I was taught not to give myself the credit I deserve based on. It's like similar to your the situation where there were people who told me, yeah, be more reasonable. Like, it's almost the opposite in a way, because I was told I should be a lawyer with the amount that I argue, but like, the support wasn't there. It was always just an off-put comment. So you know what I mean? Like, if the belief was there outside of the fact that I did take and when I say a course in law, I mean, like, I went through aspects of my life where I was approached by legal individuals and it wasn't for my benefit at times. I've had to fight situations where it's like, why am I in this? Like, my friend doesn't have to deal with this. This guy doesn't have to deal with this. No. But I have to deal with this?
Yeah.
What's the difference between me and this guy? Like, we're in the same.
I was just thinking about it, everything that you're saying, and it just sums up to, hey man, if we're from the same broke, shouldn't we have the same opportunities?
And let's not pretend that as Black parents, we have these conversations with our kids. And not only do we have how you stay alive when you interact with law enforcement, we have you got to be 10 times better.
Yes.
You look the exact same on paper, but because of the color of your skin, you're going to have to be 10 times better. It's not an option. It's not that you can't do it. You just, the rules are different for you.
The rules are different. And someone is handing you a shitty option while they're handing it off to someone else who may not be worth the option. And it's just like, why don't you let me see if I can build it first before you take it from me?
I look at the situation like this. It's like, right now, and Elle's been a part of it. In the last 2 days, we've done 4 podcasts. There's people who will do 1 podcast every couple of weeks, and there's people who'll do like a show here or there. And the level and the quality that I feel I have to put out to get the same attention as some of these other people is just like, you know what I mean? It's like all of these people are represented. Some of these people are all represented in T-shirts behind me. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'll shout them all out. Like, the far right, the red one beside the blue one, that was from a basketball tournament in 2019. I got to shout out Lee from the YMCA because he invited me out, and my team actually won that year, which is funny because that's the same year the Raptors won. We got SBE, King JD, and J Mac. You know what I mean? Those are 2 artists that'll tap in with me every now and again just to see what's going on. Come out and we'll chop it up for a bit. Choom Gang, I mean, there hasn't been a show that I've been to that they've been a part of where the energy hasn't been through the roof. You know what I mean? We got the Lund crew. They are another group of people who operate like a family of promoters. So they have a network of areas where they put on shows and things like that. Obviously, because of COVID, it's been shut down, but we still keep in contact, and you know, we touch base on things. The shirt that's behind me is just me, so don't worry about that. We got Vibrant Arrow, that was Zach Burry, and then the Culture Shock and Slightly Intoxicated shirt. So if we do something similar, like other people were to do something similar to what we did in the aspect of taking account, like, I don't know about anybody else, but I find when something goes wrong, I feel like I'm trained to take responsibility for it, even if it has nothing to do with me at times.
With you.
Yeah.
Why
That's
does no
part
one
of
else
being that bigger person.
Yes.
And you know, you could walk away from that moment, or you could use it as a teachable moment. And a lot of times you do have to be the bigger person and dismiss the ignorance and still try to go in, right? That's that part of, okay, I know they're dead wrong. I should not waste my time. Why should I have to? However, I'm going to take accountability and zero in on this situation and try to use it as a teachable moment. And I think Black people, that falls on the shoulders of us all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. Anytime ignorance come across me, I have to be the bigger person and say, hey, man, could you lighten up? Oh, I don't give a fuck. I'll do whatever I want.
Right.
Okay. Now I have to be the bigger person and walk away from you. Like Mike Tyson says, change your station. So I changed my station of you. But I find the opposite of that. I find people around here can't change their station. They're too busy listening to something they don't understand. And then they get fired up about it. Why are you fired up?
They don't want to know. They don't want to know. There's that resistance. And I can't even tell you that it is collectively all white people, because I get it from Black people too.
Yes.
You know?
You know what? It's sad. Okay.
Yes.
It's sad. I had a 2020, I released an album. I must have showed it personally to at least 300 people. The people I got the most negative feedback from, I'm going to say, were on my team. And it's very disappointing to see that I give you 10 things and you can't find one good thing out of it. But you want me to. And then outside of that, I had another argument with a woman of color, hate to say it, but the argument was she hated the way Black men talked about women in music. I said, you can't say that all Black men talk in a negative way about women in music, because here's an album right here where I talk about a woman in a very respectful way.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's just you. You're not mainstream. I'm not mainstream because, I'm not mainstream because you and people like you aren't supporting me. You're supporting the people that you have an issue with, and you're watching them and continuing to put them in that position that you have an issue with. If you were to back more artists like myself, not saying myself in general, just artists, like there's artists who do not misogynize women, right? If you back them up, then you won't have to deal with all of these people who are chauvinists and piggish towards women. But that's what you're focusing your energy on. So you're getting that out of it.
I noticed it 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last month. Why? It might be the region because I'm here and I see it here, right? But you seem to have a cheerleader outfit on for negative. If you're so upset at seeing that they're discriminating, why don't you listen to a song where they're not discriminating? I can't find to understand that your brain is in control of your actions now, really? Or are you in control of your actions? Change the damn channel.
I like what you said the
Watch
other day.
something else.
I like what you said the other day. I'm not going to mention who you said it about, but it's like, why are you taking the garbage back out of the waste bin?
Yeah, leave it in the garbage bin.
Leave it in the garbage bin.
And let's not forget, I find a lot of times and that's again where the educational part comes in. And let's not forget, when someone likes like a woman like that comes to you and this is what her argument is, then I think again taking time to teachable moment, really let her know that again we're talking about that system and that industry. They will support the gangster rap and push that out, and
True.
you know, and keep your revolutionary inspiring rap, make it hard for yours to get out there. And that's done deliberately by a system who wants to push, I don't know if
Tyranny.
you've seen the podcast where it was actually a bunch of old school rappers, and they talk about going to this meeting and they were just floored because there was a bunch of these rich white guys, and in the
Yes.
room, I mean, we're
Yes.
talking about back in the day, Tribe Called Quest,
Man,
shoot,
all of
what's it?
them,
Like
like
all those
all of them,
revolutionary
all of them.
rappers. Yeah,
Yeah,
where
they
they
were
were
called to a
silenced.
room, and they were
Yes,
not allowed to actually speak on the meeting. And if they spoke on the meeting, then they were gonna be extricated. And there were people who spoke on the meeting, and they were extricated from the
yep, from the
industry
meeting.
entirely,
Yep.
completely from the media, and you don't even
Either
hear
you
about
go
them
along with
anymore.
it. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I
If you
think
speak
Roots.
against,
I think Roots might have been a
Roots.
part of
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
all of them. But
Yep.
you look at them now. You look at some people now. It's like, okay, you can, and I don't. You look at some of the
Public Enemy.
situations now. Yeah, I keep
Yeah.
saying this, and
That
I
was
got
Argument.
to reach out
deliberate.
to him. Yeah, I got to reach out to him. But like, Public Enemy, I was added by Chuck D on Twitter. That's when I felt it was my responsibility to advocate, because I listened to his music growing up, and he was always talking about like asserting yourself for the benefit of your community and your culture.
Yeah.
So when I went on my war on capitalism, because I was being mishandled by multiple corporations, I was just like, you know what, forget it. I'm going to educate people as to how they can get back hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on their product purchases. And I started a war on capitalism. And then I saw Chuck D add me. I was just like, nah, that ain't the real Chuck D. I checked it out. I'm like, I'm just some dude from Ajax. He ain't added me on here. You know what I mean? So I go on there and I see the blue check mark, and I'm like, yo, thanks for adding me. Still, you're revolutionary. I see, like, I followed your music and whatever. And then he responded. I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna push this any further. I'm just gonna go back to what I was doing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, you don't want to stalk.
yeah, exactly. And you know
I got
what
a
I mean?
question.
Go ahead.
Throughout all our trials and tribulation, would you say it is best to educate others prior to our non-successful level with failing, or failing in areas that allowed us to teach ourselves something? Or do you think it's better to teach someone something when you've never failed?
I think what I found, especially in this work, I think part of being successful and moving that needle for change is making yourself relatable. So if you can admit to or speak to an area similar to what you're trying to teach at that moment where you failed,
Mm-hmm.
that smooths, that the resistance. Again, whether it's a white person or a black person, when you give them kind of a out and you make yourself relatable and you speak to your own failures,
Mm-hmm.
it makes you relatable to them, and it makes them a little more accepting of what you're saying and trying to get them to see. So absolutely speak to your failures. I think
Nice.
it changes his temperature. It brings the temperature
Okay.
right down, especially if you felt like you see that white resistance or that white fragility, or again, even if you're talking to a black person who's resistant of what you're saying and you're trying to give them the facts, is you speak to where you failed in this area or somewhere similar, and how you were
Okay.
able to, change that through education or through knowledge or through research.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm. I like having educational conversations. Let's continue. Let us continue.
Yeah.
Fallon was saying something actually here. Hold on. There we go. There we go. We got this right here. Oh, give me a second.
That's right, Fallon.
Yeah.
Not
She
enough
said
not
she
to be racist.
she said she learned a lot today, and facts on facts on facts, and
Yeah.
loves her content.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely. I
Yeah, and I
appreciate
mean,
that.
big ups to you for holding this
Yes,
platform and where we can have these conversations and have this dialogue. It's needed. It's well
I'm
overdue.
absolutely.
humbled. I'm humbled.
Mhm.
I like I've been a part of like hosting things for quite some time, and I've always liked when I can bring people together for a good cause. You know, I've seen collaborations occur that just go beyond my capacity to even contemplate.
Hmm.
So, you know, like knowing that you're doing what you're doing and being able to have this conversation with you is it's a humbling experience, and it also is something that's going to further my knowledge base of how to deal with people. And I mean,
Hmm.
having LG here, I mean, he's always been a positive influence in whatever he's a part of. So, you know, I just got to show some appreciation for the two of you taking time out of your day, because some people just see this as like, some people don't see this the way that I try to present it as an outlet for us to bridge gaps
Dude,
in
yeah.
our knowledge base
Which
so
is
that
Yeah.
we
why
could
I
better.
say the things I say and questions I ask, because it's not based on just my feeling or that Darlene's black or yours black. It's based on the door, the the streets, the doors on my street, the people in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
All their children eventually will communicate. So let's communicate where they know
Yeah.
instead of not knowing.
Yeah.
Hmm. Definitely, definitely. Gotta put
Right?
that up there.
I ask questions like did the whether it's a policewoman or a policeman, did she get the badge just for the front door or the street or the neighborhood? What she get the
Yeah.
badge for?
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of
Right?
people fail miserably because we need one of the most important things we need to stop doing as a society in whole, as a whole,
Yep.
black, white, Asian, whatever. We need to stop pretending that every policeman and policewoman has taken on this occupation and gotten this job because they want to go out and help the community. We have to stop dismissing the fact that a lot of times, especially with young white men, this is a power move.
Mm-hmm.
We have to stop pretending that we don't have cops out there who became cops because it is a power move and that reason only. We have to stop pretending that these guys don't exist, and quite honestly, quite a large percentage. I'm not saying that there's not cops out there who generally want to, serve and protect their community, but there is a very large percentage where this is a power move,
Yep.
and it's the only reason why they've done it.
It tears down the 1%, which is the
Exactly.
which is the other cop that I seem to don't think exist. Think he probably does, right? Think he doesn't exist because he's the 1% who did get the badge for the neighborhood, not his
Exactly.
front
And
door, not just to
yeah,
drive down the street and go, "Hey, I'm a cop. Watch my kid."
yeah, yeah. And I agree with you there. My personal feeling on that and my perspective is there's a lot of bad apples,
Mm.
more than good ones in that field, and that's unfortunate. I think like that, but that's what I've been shown. That's
Yeah.
what I know, and I really would want them to change my mind about that. I
And
can't,
that's what I've challenged them. I've challenged a lot of people. I've challenged people in political positions to live on the income of those that they appoint benefits to. I've challenged um I've challenged police to actually show themselves in a positive light. And um I'm seeing it more lately. Like you'll see the one where the police officer will stop and play basketball with the kids, or things like that in the street. But that's like, we need more of that.
hmm
And it's like, if we go to put on an event, for example, if we decide, say, we want to put on a festival, the police should be the ones at the front door saying, okay, we want to volunteer our time to show that we respect your community. Not, okay,
exactly.
that's going to be $45 per hour, per officer, per car, per, you know what I mean? Just for
Yeah,
your presence. It's like, we could police
Pretty much
ourselves.
telling us,
yeah,
as taxpayers we didn't pay enough, so well, we got to
yeah.
pay more.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like when I did the demonstration. Um, I googled how do you do a demonstration, and although you don't legally have to notify the police that you're doing this, once the numbers started going up, the police did reach
Hell
out to
no.
me.
Yeah,
And
hell no.
what I found was what he said, and I always speak about how I got an incredible pushback from our indigenous community, white people who just felt like why would you send an open invitation to the oppressors to come to this? They're the problem. They're the reason. And I mean, daily pushback. We're not going to support you. All these other organizations, how could you do this? We're begging you, don't do this, don't have them there. But what they don't understand is they were going to be there whether I
Regardless.
invited them or not. And it was just a matter of them showing up and supporting and being a part of it, or showing up in riot gear.
Yes.
One or the other.
Yep.
They were coming. So why not have them come on a positive note, on a positive foot, join and show your community that you are acceptant of this, you're a part of this, rather than come in your tactical gear, which
I don't want to see that.
right off the bat. Yeah.
I don't want
right
to
off the
see
bat
that. Yeah.
is
Instantly, I'm thinking resistance
unsettled.
already.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah, I've been in a situation where, like, for throwing out garbage. Okay, I went to throw garbage in a bin, and police pulled up on me, and I'm just like, okay, and they're talking to me like I'm like about to rob the store, and I said, you know what? I respect the fact that you're willing to put your life on the line for people, and that's what got you the badge, but I do not fear your gun. And he's like, excuse me? I said, I respect the fact that you have a badge to protect people, but I do not fear your gun, because he's standing there and he's talking to me like this. And I'm just like, okay, I'm here with my wife and daughter throwing out a bag of garbage in an open bin. Well, you don't pay for that bin. I shop at this store all the time. The money I pay at this store goes to paying for this bin. You know how I know this? I used to work for a retail store similar to this one. So I can understand where the numbers go. Well, you didn't pay for it directly. No, I didn't, but indirectly I did. The garbage is in there. I'm not going in there for it. If you want to arrest me, you can. If you don't, then have a nice day. And I just started walking away from him. Yeah. No,
it's that immediate aggressiveness right off the hop.
Yeah.
It's not necessary. It's not necessary, and that's how the situations go from bad. That's bad. How. Yeah. That's how, because we're perceived a threat right off the bat. You're perceived a threat. Yep. You are an endangered species, a black man. Right. You are an endangered species.
Yep. And when I see those scenarios, I say to people who are close to me to look at the situation and go, okay, picture yourself being in the scenario where Block was. All right. Now, Block's getting aggression. If you happen to be the different color of Block, but you're a part of the scenario, that cop somehow talks to you like he's your uncle, he's your neighbor. Why does Block get aggression and you get, yeah, it's okay, it's cool. Yeah. You can talk to the officer, but for some reason when the officer talks to me, he's trying to blow me away right away. And I'm like, why is he so nice to you and not to me? What did I do? What did I do? Why can't you give me the same compassion you did your non-knowing neighbor?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really all I ask. That's really all I ask. Like compassion flat across the board.
That's got to come from within the organization. They have to, because not only do they have white solidarity within that industry, they've got blue solidarity.
Ooh, so where it's just internal.
Yes. Yes. So
I've been in a similar
this is why you have cops standing by watching bad cops do bad things, because there is
blue
there's
solidarity.
A fear. Yeah, there's a fear within that you can't be the whistleblower. So I mean, even if we have to design a system where they can be a whistleblower and report a bad apple without the fear of being ostracized within their their peers at work, we've got to create maybe something like that where that can be reported, because it's like Chris Rock said, there's just some industries, there's just some jobs where we cannot have bad apples.
Well,
there's just something, and that's, we can't have bad cops, we can't have bad teachers, there's just some industries where one is one too many. And I mean, you have the ability to take a life. You can't be a bad apple. You cannot have that luxury of where you decide in a second, a nanosecond, whether you're going to take somebody's life or not. You have to be, we got to start vetting these guys. We got to make sure you're 100%. We can't take a risk of you having an attitude or power tripping because you have the ability to take someone's life. So you cannot,
Yep.
there should be they've got to change that system. It's got to be dismantled. It's not broken.
The psychological
Yeah.
damage down the road, it's like, keep your job, but don't say shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just pay your bills because you're just here to take care of your kids until your kids are in danger. Now you want to speak. Oh, should have spoke before because it's about the people.
Yeah.
Should have spoke before. It's not about hiding something or shh.
Yeah.
No, man. Now,
well, like I said, there's fires everywhere. And I don't want to say that's the beauty of this movement. It is what I assure white people is that you're going to find a place. And the thing is you have to find an area that you're passionate about. You're going to call yourself an anti-racist. You're going to do anti-racism work, do your vetting, align yourself with an organization, align yourself with a cause that you're passionate about, because it is a whole entire system and it is not broken. It is working exactly how they say. It's very calculated how they put it together. It is designed to work the way it is working, and there's enough room for everybody. There's enough, and that's unfortunate. So we cannot there's no such thing as too many, because there are so many fires everywhere. So pick a cause, pick something that you're, passionate about. If it's, changing the curriculum, if it's changing the justice system, if it's community work, if it's advocacy, pick an area and devote and become passionate about it. And that's how we move this needle. That's how we link arms together and move forward for change.
Y'all spot on, because you just listed everyone that I've already chosen. It's like there's a couple of things that I want to. It's like we live out in an agriculturally rich area. Why are there not more opportunities for these children to learn how to farm or create their own fruits and vegetables off the land? Okay, you want to teach coding? Teach coding, but involve the agricultural development of the second largest landmass on the globe. Come on now, let's talk about it.
Unless you go to a specialty college or university.
They actually have a program in the DSBN that allows you to learn. It's called Dig It.
But it doesn't teach you the way it should.
Well, I'm just telling you what I've heard from a trustee that I approached, but I still believe they can do better about. They can still do better to promote it, because I had to get that information. Like, I had to get that information as an interested party. If you're interested but you're not active, then you're not really searching the information you require. They got to basically give it to you without obstacle.
Government nowadays will not volunteer information. You have to figure it out on your own, to find it yourself, to ask them about it. They will not volunteer it to you, and that's sad. Well, look at 20 years ago when it was like, we got to get into the technological side of education, and now what are they screaming for now? We need the blue collar tech, not tech workers, but the hands-on
tradesmen.
Yeah. And that's a lost art.
Because they pushed technology and computers for the last 25 years, and now we have a shortage of tradesmen. And that's why there's been millions of dollars funded to these colleges now, because now they're pushing that forward. The welders, the cabinet maker, the carpentry, the electricians, we've got a shortage of those.
You know what the funny thing is? There's an actual a almost borderline crisis shortage for elevator repairmen in Ontario alone.
Wow, I believe it.
That it's almost an extinct job. But there's how many elevators in, say, just St. Catharines alone?
Yeah, and they're not going anywhere. They're just updating in technology as far. So yeah, it is. Yeah.
When I went back to college, 2013, there was this big loss of baby boomers for machining, where there was just nobody engineering, nobody machining, nobody manning machines. It was all just, the 40, 50 years ago, all those people about to be retired, and maybe some died before their retirement, but it was literally orchestrated for, the industry to put more workers into that industry, because they're like, oh, the baby boomers in that industry, There's like 70% of them are gone by 2020.
Yeah, we got to get back to the basics, and I think that's what the world does. It's kind of like a circle, because if you notice now, they pushed that technology and computers on us for the last 25 years, and
Lack
they
of
thought,
something else.
we're updating, we're moving. Like, we all have made that phone call where, for God's sakes, can I get a human being instead of a computer to speak
Thank
to,
you.
to respond
Yep.
to me? And now what's happening now? Now it's that straight up hands-on customer service that was lost in that computer era that
Yep.
they're pushing forward now. And like I said, it's just a circle. So we have to go back to the basics, just like you said, with teaching our kids how to farm and plant and be outside, play in the dirt. We've got to go back to that. If we're doing a circle around back to that.
But there's also parents there that need to remember that they grew up playing in the dirt and everything else. And
Yeah.
it's okay for the child to do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, Jay, tell
Yes, sir.
Charlene, when you first met me, what was going through your head when you smelt the food?
Oh my God, it reminded me of my childhood.
Tell her what.
I grew up in the projects of Toronto, and my I might look the way I look, but my background and my culture is a lot different than what you would think it would be. I grew up, like, my last name is of Pakistani descent. I am a large native myself. I know that's not correct by most standards, but that's the way I identify with myself strongly, which is a good 75% of my DNA. And it was kind of funny that when I met these two men here, and I'd start talking about stuff and the foods I grew up on, and even David looked at me and went, "Really?" I went, "Yeah." And then I started explaining where I lived in Toronto and the culture that I grew up in. So my babysitters were West Indian and Jamaican. Like, I'm
So
talking.
that when you smelled that, smelled like home.
Oh, and I started talking about bullet cake. The block brought me some bullet cake, and I told them I loved them.
Yep. I passed by it, I saw it, and I just remembered he said it. I'm just like, you know what? He's done right by me. Let me do right for him. And I picked it up. I did not expect the reaction I got. He looked like he was about to engulf me with a hug, and I'm just like, bro.
It's like my ninth child.
This is how I grew up. This is like going back to the cliche of not seeing colors. Yes, I don't, because I can identify with what people have gone through, but I can't because of the way I look. But I've been through similar circumstances, like where David was with the police hand on the gun. Went one further. They had the shotgun to the back of my brainstem and kicking me to the ground when I actually did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Or growing up for most of my life being called a hood rat.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in the projects, I grew up underprivileged and everything else. And people I hung out with, do you know what I mean? Like, it was, I don't see it the way a lot of people see it that way. You know what I mean? Like, I lived it. Yes, I'm white, but I grew up.
And how nice would it be to have somebody? And this is why we have to start having these conversations, because, like you said, looking at you, nobody would know that about you. They've already, you got people who've already decided what you are, what you believe, what you think,
instantly,
just by your appearance.
Yep.
And we live in a society where, like I said, the technology the past 25 years, we've pushed, and that disconnect, that human disconnect, with actually speaking to each other, has been pushed to the background. Let's text. Let's video. Let's actually stop as human beings and speak to one another.
The art of conversation is lost.
Yes.
Where the mastery of bullshit has taken over.
Yeah.
Like, I know me and LG and David, we've all had good talks off of camera about things that would probably incite a riot with most people's ideology, where we can sit there and have a good conversation and see both sides.
Yeah. My girlfriends are the same. We have video chats, and sometimes they get really intense. And sometimes we just have to agree to disagree, but we do have these conversations, and that's black girls, white girls, I mean, at least once a week we get on there and we're on there for 4 hours sometimes, and we're having
Wow.
some heated conversations. Yeah. And sometimes we have great conversations, but the main idea is that we are actually speaking to each other. We're having conversations.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
This
because I
is
don't agree with somebody's thought process doesn't mean they're wrong and I'm right.
Exactly.
And it
yeah.
doesn't
Exactly.
mean I'm right and they're wrong.
Exactly.
Like I've always said before, there's three sides to every story. There's his, hers, and the truth. You need to figure out where the truth lies within all three sides.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think
indeed.
that's something that I've learned, especially as I've gotten older, that I appreciate um, someone giving me a different perspective, a different way to look at things, a different way to absorb. Because a lot of times it is when I'm exposed to that, when I'm challenged, a lot of times I have never even thought to think of it in that way or look at it in that way. So whether I agree with it or not, I appreciate someone exposing me to the possibility of, hey, instead of thinking it and looking at it like this, you could also look at it and think about it like this.
Mhm.
And I
The,
appreciate that because
the
that's
way I look
learning.
at it,
That's
It's learning. Yep.
yeah,
Uh,
the more you can look at something, the more or less ignorant you feel about it because you're seeing it for more than just what you think you see it for.
well,
right.
Because
ignorance is the base of ignorance is basically the absence of knowledge or the lack
It's
of
lack
knowledge
of
in a
knowledge. That's right.
particular
Yep.
situation. So the more you're right, the more you look at it, the more you involve yourself with it, the more you better understand it. I wanna say I'm gonna switch up the grammar a little bit. I was speaking to a man in Jamaica the other day, a Rasta man, Michael Botley or Junior Barclay. Sorry, I was
that was
speaking to
yesterday,
him, and
wasn't it?
yeah, that was yesterday, and I appreciate him calling me. He's like, nah, man, you have to appreciate love. And I was like, okay. He's like, nah, no, there's enough hate in the world, so don't appreciate me. Just appreciate love me. I said, all right, cool. So, every time I hear it, I just kind of switch it up in my head. So, nah, man,
See, the funny thing is, knowledge is great. You can have all the knowledge in world, but
yep.
without perspective, that knowledge is pretty one way.
Yeah.
Especially if you've had wrong knowledge.
Yeah.
Well,
Knowledge is great. If they've had wrong knowledge of things, then
here's
it's
my
like
idea about wrong knowledge. Even wrong knowledge can still produce something right.
you're
Because
absolutely
even
right.
if you know wrong knowledge, it's going to encourage you when somebody corrects you
Yep.
to go figure out more knowledge,
Yeah.
which in my like what I said, it's perspective.
Yeah.
Even
What I
wrong knowledge could have some
Yeah.
good to it.
what I said to you
Yeah.
guys earlier of what I learned when I was living home and when I moved here, I had to unlearn it, and it was wrong knowledge. And once I made the choice that I need to unlearn that, it became something
Yeah.
better. So yeah, well
But
said.
you still need perspective because I know
Yeah.
like walking into
Yeah.
conversations even with you guys and David has said it. Damn, that was a culture shock because like I've related so much with things he's gone through and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
even if it's like you said, even if I don't agree
Yep.
with how you are perceiving it, it is I still appreciate um
The
giving me
Learning
knowledge.
the
that knowledge
difference.
to
Yeah.
look at it differently, and even if
Mhm.
I don't agree with it.
Mm.
The more knowledge you have and the better more perspective you have, the more you can see the scope. You're not so tunnel vision in my opinion.
Yes, tunnel vision.
Because
That's
tunnel
that
vision
word.
it
Yeah.
works on all sides. Even if you're fighting for a good cause, you can
Yes.
get those blinders on and you don't see anything else.
Yes.
So when somebody
Yes.
decides to say, okay, what about this? All of a sudden they're just on attack mode going, but this is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to take those blinders off
Mm.
all around, no matter what side you're on, and open up to those
Hmm.
Yeah.
perceptions and knowledge.
That's something
Which
I'm
is the beauty.
learning to do with Justice for Black Lives too, because I'm like, no,
Oh,
no, this is the
big.
message I want to get through. This is what I want. And, I've got people on the sideline saying, yeah, but not everybody's going to understand what what if you do it this way, or you got to do this way, or you're not considering the person who's not going to see it like you. And I'm like, how could they not? You know what I
I've gotten
mean?
yelled at from
What do you
people
mean?
because
Yeah.
I've taken their perspective and tried to make it to where somebody else would understand it.
Yeah.
Yes, you stand for like Black Lives Matter, which is great, but for somebody that's looks like me and doesn't quite understand it or is not as involved as like I have been or lived it, you'd have to bring it to what their experiences with. So say they're a musician, so how they're
Yeah.
being treated that way. Now now change it a bit and then look at what they're doing. It makes sense because you're changing their perspective on something that's more personal to them that they can relate to, and then they can look at it and go, I understand that now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It might be a roundabout circle. It might be a way, like, it's just, like I said, it's all about perspectives in my eyes.
And
can
knowledge
make
is
of
power. At the end of the day, knowledge is
It's
power.
power, yeah, because it does
But if you
something,
can
whether
help their
it's
perspective,
good or bad.
understand on what your knowledge is, it makes it easier for them to absorb it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This this is a little left field, but I don't understand how people cross their legs. Like I'm
Well,
trying to
I'm
do it
here
right
to
now.
tell you, you're too old. Stop. It's gonna hurt.
I found
Only the
I
children
got
can
to a
do
certain,
that. Don't act
I
like you
got
don't
to a
see the kids in front of the TV and you sit the way they're sitting on the ground. You're thinking, my God, I wouldn't be able. My knees would lock up sitting like that.
yeah. Like I went to sit out on the floor the other day, and halfway down, I was just like, "What the hell am I thinking?" But it was too late.
If I remember correctly, you said that out loud. This is going to be
Yeah.
a bad idea, but I got to do this.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Oh
Stop
my
acting
God.
new. Our bones, our bodies just don't do that anymore.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. And like I'm telling you, I feel like a teenager until I see some teenage shit, and then it's just like,
Right?
oh my God, that's not me at all.
I'm
was
only
sitting
teenager in
on the
mind,
edge.
not in body.
I
The
was-
body left a long time ago.
Yeah, I was sitting on the edge of my bed the other day and I was reading. And you know how you get pins and needles in your leg, like a circulation is kind of, but that
Yeah.
it's kind of the norm, right? So I didn't think any big deal of it. So I guess my leg had went completely numb by the time I decided to get up. And I didn't even realize it because my leg was numb. When I got up, I nosedive on the floor. My coffee went flying down the hallway.
Whoa.
My leg was just like, not today, bitch. I'm
No.
sleeping, and you better stop and shake me out, wake me up because I don't work right now. And I
You
was just
feel
like looking at my foot, and it was not doing
not
like
doing
it
it.
was just. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
that's
didn't
how
get
you know
that
when you're old.
email.
Yeah.
You
Every
didn't
once
get
in a
that
while, the body
subliminal
goes,
memo.
time to rest.
Yeah.
You didn't get
Yeah.
the subliminal memo. Your legs were on
Yeah,
a
I
day
was like,
off.
okay, so this is what 50 looks like, huh?
Yeah.
You
Hey,
can no
honestly,
longer just get up and walk. You got to shake that out.
oh man, that's I'm starting to stretch more, but then I hear the click and the pop, and I'm just like, this isn't right, man. I wasn't. What is this? Is
David,
no,
there
yo.
will be a point where you will stretch and all of a sudden something will lock.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Listen,
yeah.
man,
The click
don't
and the
speak,
pop is just the beginning phase.
don't
Yep.
speak ill on me. I have enough hijinks to deal with.
Or you get those pains for no reason and you think something's seriously wrong. And you go to the doctor and he's just like, this
Laughing
is
at
going to
you.
happen sometimes. You're like, what?
No,
But why? Just because.
You're old.
I went to the doctor and he told me this word that starts with an A and ends with an S, and I wanted to tell him to kiss mine, but he said arthritis, and I was just like,
Yeah, it was.
it was. He said, "Oh yeah." I said, I said, I got a pain in my foot every time I move it around and click because I slipped off the sidewalk out front in the summertime because they don't deal with it properly. So my ankle's bugging me, and then things went. He's like, yeah, that just you got a bit of arthritis. That slip just made it more noticeable. It's like, oh really? Thanks.
The
So you're
best is
telling me I'm old.
When you go talk to your doctor and they're like, "Oh,
Reality
that
check.
just happens," and you're like, "What do you mean that just happened?"
Yeah.
Well, at your age,
Oh,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
that
I didn't think I knew.
conversation.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
funny.
You're like, so this is just going to pop up whenever. Yeah.
just-
Any idea when it's going to go away? Nope. Sometimes it'll go away a day, maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
it may get
okay,
worse.
this is really unfair.
Yeah.
You just wake up in the shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
No apparent reason. You didn't do. You think to yourself, "Damn, did I fall? Did I,
Nope.
did I smack my
Yeah.
back? Did I hit something yesterday?
Nope.
You need something dramatic to happen to explain why you're in this pain.
So the
And
best is
there's
when you
have
when you wake
there's
up
no
thinking you
rhyme
have
or
the
reason
best sleep
for
of
it.
life. When you think you have the best sleep of life and you get out of bed and your body goes, "Nope, you're not ready yet."
Yeah,
This ain't
yeah.
it.
No.
Today
man.
is not the day.
Today is not for you. Go back and try it again.
Yeah, you're gonna learn today.
Hey, this
Oh,
was
man.
very educational for me. I love the energy.
Yeah,
these-
yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
entertaining as well.
Yeah.
As much as I don't like, it's hard to call these conversations to a close because
Yeah.
they're always so enriching. But I have another podcast to do later on too. Oh man, I want to thank you for your time, Sherri. You are welcome to join us anytime. Hopefully, when all
Thank you
this
for having
madness
me. And
is
thank you
all
She
for all
joins
the
us for dinner
advocacy
one
work
night.
that you're doing. All you guys keeping us, like I said, we all got to do this. We're in this together. Black,
Yeah.
white, doesn't matter. We're changing the world.
Yeah.
We're moving this needle.
yes,
Hopefully, she
yes,
can
we
join us
are.
for a dinner show in person.
Yes, yes. You got to
Yeah,
You've
I'm
do it.
not
missed.
opposed.
You've.
I'm not opposed to being fed, guys. Just so you know.
Okay. All
What do you
right.
mean?
Cool.
Okay, yeah, because you've missed out on oxtail. You missed out on stir fry. You
We
missed
had
out
an
on jerk
amazing
chicken
jerk, like the
yesterday.
third level
Well, I
jerk.
don't do
missing-
the oxtail.
What is
Okay.
wrong?
We had ackee and saltfish.
He sang that. Hold on. What? My dude sang the song. He goes, "What is wrong?" I can't even hit the notes.
I'm pretty sure you.
I
just
tried
did
not to make the
salty.
face, but I was like, huh? It's like me.
Remember,
It's like when my parents.
culturally,
True. It's like my parents going, "Yo, we made some fish. You want some?" And I'm like,
that was not a household. That wasn't a staple in my household. We were super southern, right? We got the biscuits and the fried chicken and the greens, and you know what I mean. Like we weren't.
Okay.
I've never had saltfish and ackee. I want to try it. I've never had it.
Do you know what we should do? Okay, here.
We
missed
will
out
have
on
to
that
make
too,
that.
but we got to redo
Hold
that.
on a
Okay.
second. Hold on a second. I think when we have her on for the dinner, she needs to bring us some a southern dish
Yes.
that is
I'll bring you
something
some sweet
that's
potato pie.
Oh my
no,
god.
something that's not normal for up here, like something because I've never had real grits and greens. I've
Oh my
never had-
god, grits
No,
and
I've-
fish and grits for breakfast.
Never.
I've heard of it.
Ooh,
Sweet
that's
potato
where
pie I've
that's at.
had, but there's some southern stuff I've never had. I would like to try that.
Chicken
That
and
would
So I'll
be
bring some
interesting.
greens. I'll do some greens and I love my lima beans and my butter beans and cornbread and
I love
sweet
cornbread.
potato pie.
Okay. We gonna have
That's
to
a
have a
weed
buffet.
I find
have you guys
grits is
had-
kind of like porridge.
Have you guys had banana pudding?
Yes, I have. It's one of my favorites.
Yes.
No,
Southern,
What?
like how they do it in the South.
No.
I believe so, but I could be
I've
wrong.
not had it that way. No.
No.
I'm gonna bring you some banana pudding. And
All
I
right.
know all of you guys, okay, when you have this, you have to stay with your wives and your family, okay? You cannot marry a bitch after I give you this, okay?
Okay.
Shit,
So
I'm
this is why my
single,
mom
so-
says
But you have to like bananas. If you like bananas, you are going to die when you
Oh, I
have
Is
love
this
bananas.
is
Yeah.
this similar to banana porridge at all?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
if-
Great.
It's
If I
this
have had the
dessert
true
that's
southern
just like
Yeah.
it's
once
just
you
like
have it,
drinking
you can
banana.
never forget it. You're always gonna crave it.
And saying bananas are never gonna be the same after that.
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
no.
No, man.
No. You're
Beautiful.
gonna dream about it. Like, damn.
That's
Would
what's
you
up.
do a goat, a roti goat?
I don't eat goat.
No?
I do like roti, but I
So
What
don't
type
like
of
goat.
roti?
So I guess
What kind
we'll
of
I
have to do
like
a
chicken roti. I like the shrimp. I love the shrimp roti.
Okay.
Love shrimp
Okay.
roti, yeah. You know, I think that's all there is, right? Chicken,
You can roti
shrimp,
anything.
You can
and
roti
goat.
anything. You can roti oxtail,
I actually
goat,
love the shell,
shrimp,
the roti shell.
chicken.
You
I
can
Don't
do
worry.
love
just
that.
straight
Yeah.
vegetables in a curry sauce.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you
I
can
love
roti
the
anything.
shell.
Especially if you did
Okay.
some jerk pork. You can roti some jerk pork. But hey, it's all
Yeah.
what we've been exposed to, right? And I'm learning that you are not exposed to those things. That's very cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
no, like
I just want to try some.
I never
Yeah.
had the
Yeah, that too.
the sweet potato
That
pie
too.
is gonna get you too.
All right.
I've had that.
Oh man.
All right.
She gonna bring the
You-
dessert. We gotta bring the dinner. Okay.
You're
I
familiar
can
with
make some
dumplings,
macaroni
yes?
sausage.
Yeah, we don't do dumplings a lot, but I am
Are you-
familiar with dumplings. I
Okay,
like
do
them.
you-
Yeah,
Okay.
I do like them. Yeah.
You don't
That's
like these dumplings.
That's LG's signature.
Don't you be trying to get to that single life now. Make these dumplings crazy. These dumplings
Yeah,
are crazy.
Oh my goodness! Like he made a bad dumpling before, like a wicked dumpling before, and I kind of inveigled myself in his recipe, and like since then it's just been next level. It's
Next
What do you
just-
mean?
level.
We've all had our hands
We've-
into his dumpling and did little
Dumplings
changes
are-
here and there.
Before it was just, the flour, baking powder, some salt, maybe a little black pepper, and the water, and you knead it. Now we've gone ahead and put bacon in it, cheese in
Oh,
it,
snap.
and then
Butter.
I've gone to the next level and made some corned beef, dry it out, and then put that inside of it. So now you got corned beef dumpling.
I've never had corned beef. It doesn't sound right to me.
Oh.
It's like having pulled pork on nachos. Sorry,
Okay.
Yeah,
ground beef
we-
on nachos, ground beef.
Yeah,
I
the corned
know
beef
it's
has much a
staple
stronger flavor.
in what Irish. I know it's a staple. Like I know we just had St. Patty's Day, and I know a lot of people, Irish people, were posting videos where they did the cabbage and the potatoes and the
Yeah,
corned beef,
yeah.
and they just kind of
I did it
family
too.
style. I'd like to try that. That looked yummy.
Me and my wife call it boiled dinner, where we take like a cottage roll, toss it in water, and we boil it for about 4 hours. And then near the end, we put the carrots in, the potatoes in, and cut up cabbage, and then boil it until it's
Now,
all
is there any
ready.
love in that?
Oh yes,
Like seasoning? I mean,
yes. There's
or is it
yes.
just?
There
Oh,
is
yeah,
seasoning
Water,
to it.
no.
He almost lost his shit when he left his seasoning here. I've never seen like he was gone. He got like he must have got halfway home. He realized he left his
Turned
seasoning,
right
and he's like, yo. He said it with like I rarely hear him speak this authoritative. He's like, I left my seasoning there, and I knew right away. I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna put this in a bag for you. I'm not even gonna touch it.
You're on your way back to get it.
Well, the way I grew up, I had so many different spice palettes that I just
Yeah.
love seasoning. I love mixing foods and styles together. Like the Irish make a really good curry.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Really?
Irish curry is delicious. There's a place on
Really?
Dr. McGillick, the Irish pub on Lundy's
Oh,
Lane
Doc
in Niagara
McGillic's.
Falls. Go have
Ew,
their
go.
Irish curry. It's delicious.
Was that your dog?
Yeah, he just went and like drank some water and then came over here and shook his head and so his
Blah blah
little,
blah.
yeah, I felt little droplets.
You're like, get out of here.
I'm here
And he's
too.
just staring at me like, sorry, you guys weren't supposed to see that. You saw how disgusted I was, right?
Exactly. That's what caught me.
That's what makes these conversations candid.
She's like, ew,
Really
get out of
grossed
here.
Really just grossed out.
Oh man.
I
Oh,
think that was dog spit.
that's great. Oh man.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a pit bull.
Oh,
Whoa, big
I love
boy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love.
Oh, he's a big baby.
They're gentle giants.
Not to anyone else.
This
Actually,
dog
you'd be
literally,
amazed.
do you know what his favorite toy is? Is a balloon. And when I tell you my dog, my big scary pit bull, you give him a balloon, he'll keep that balloon for a month. He carries it around. He's so
Really?
delicate with
Dude,
it.
pit bulls-
Yes.
Wow. He'll probably
Pitbulls
fight you
are
for it.
really pit bulls are
He
really
keeps
a
a
product of their
balloon for a
environment.
month till the air literally he doesn't pop it. That's how delicate it is. And he carries it
Wow.
around in his mouth.
It's mine.
Pit bulls are 100% a product of their environment.
Yep. Yeah, he's a big sucky baby.
Out of all the pit bulls, there's maybe 1% that are actually born mean. The rest of them are taught it.
Yeah, exactly. The only like naturally mean pit bull I've ever come across, and I've always owned pit bulls, was the dog I have now. His father, he had a very he's like, you can pet him. I'm like, there's something wrong with that dog.
Yeah.
You couldn't even pet him?
People too, right?
You couldn't
They
pet him.
told you could pet him, but
Uh,
he has he had a history of biting people, just biting people. So you know,
I ain't about that
no,
life.
I'm not
Yeah.
petting him because you don't know. Like he'd be growling and he does that ignorant stuff too. My dog. I always tell people, they're like, does he bite? I'm like, he's got teeth. So I tell you right
Yeah.
now, I don't trust him as far as because he has his father's disposition sometimes. Like my friend brought her
wow.
boyfriend here for the first time last week, and he's petting the dog and giving the dog all kinds of love, and the whole time the dog's growling at him, but enjoying
Loving
the
it.
pats and the belly rubs. And, you know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm sorry he's so ignorant. I'm so sorry he's so ignorant.
I don't know you like that. Why you touching? I don't know you like that. I don't know you
Yeah.
like
better
that. Why
keep
you
doing
touching
that.
me?
Yeah.
Why you touching me
You
for?
better
Why you touching
keep doing that.
Yeah,
You better keep doing that. You better
Dogs
keep
just
doing
like
that.
people, man. There's always the 1%
Yeah.
that screws it up.
Yeah, he does ignorant stuff like that.
That is great. Oh
Well,
man.
I'm gonna check out with this smile on my face. Y'all been beautiful.
All
I'm
right.
gonna
Yes, you
enjoy the
guys have
rest
a
of the
great
Sunday.
rest of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
This
You
is
do
definitely a
that.
Sunday to just stay in, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for
I just went
sure.
out and it's horrible out there. It's
Man.
raining
Yeah.
massively here in the
I had
falls.
to go to the store to get some cling wrap.
I had to go
I
pick the
gotta
wife
make
up
some.
from work.
Oh man.
My
So,
pioneer in the back there. I love that dude. That's my guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty much in the state of mind. If he's in the back of me, I'm in his state of mind every time I speak, right? Because I listen to his music and he's been talking about this togetherness for the longest time. I've been hearing his message. So Bob is really something very, very strong to me. He's uplifting. He is transcended through time, and he's spoken to a lot of people who definitely understand that, you know what I mean, good people gonna thrive. Good is gonna thrive.
Who are we
Negative will
talking about
eventually.
now? Who are you talking about?
My pioneer, this guy.
Oh,
Oh,
Bob
Marley.
Marley. Yes.
Yeah,
One love.
Yes.
yeah, man. Everything we've been talking about,
Wow.
it stems from that guy, right? We
Well,
all
it's
just,
been in our music for centuries.
yeah,
It has been
Yes.
in our music for
yep.
centuries.
Yep.
And it's today. I mean, you can go back 25 years and hear songs about police brutality. Rick James,
Mhm,
Mr. Policeman,
mhm.
you know,
Mm, oh my gosh, yeah.
You can go to the more extremes with your, Ice Cube and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah.
Yes,
There,
yes, you
there's
can.
no matter how
this.
vulgar they got, there was
Okay.
still an underlining message.
Yes,
Yeah.
there is. Yes, there is.
And
But
it also
hey,
goes on
Yeah.
the other side too. There is a lot of musicians that do speak up about it as well, but they get buried
Fight the
because
power.
yep,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fight the power.
yep.
Fight the power.
Do. They
Fight
do.
the power.
Who?
That beat.
My God, I can't remember the group that I'm thinking of. Oh, jeez. Oh, they're
You about to say Wu Tang?
No. Oh,
Um.
is it? Oh my God, I even got the chorus. Is hip hop, hip.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Uh,
Who shot Biggie? Who shot Biggie Smalls?
Yes. Who is it?
This is bigger than him. It's at the tip of the
Hip.
tongue.
it's
Yeah,
not
I
naughty
can't
by
remember.
nature.
No,
No.
it's
No, these
something
guys are really deep and raw, but you gotta
Dead Presidents.
Dead
Dead Presidents.
presidents. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Dead Presidents.
Yes.
going through my head. I'm trying to think. I'm thinking. I'm like,
Yeah.
God damn.
Dead Presidents.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the kind of, and you know as well as I do, they put those boys way down. They buried them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the
So
funny
when
thing
you
was,
go
I
back and you
actually had
listen to their
the
lyrics and you
disc,
listen to
and
what they
that's
were
still in
saying,
front of my head.
that would have riled black people up, and they don't want that.
Yeah.
That's why they
True.
pushed the gangster rap and they didn't do the revolutionary stuff because they didn't want to. They don't want us inspired. They don't want us to have any leaders. They don't want to light that fire, and that's what that kind of music does.
And that's why the song of the year is what it is.
Mm.
And that song is I don't even know how it made it onto the airwaves.
What song?
WAP.
What it? Oh
Ugh.
my gosh.
That's the song of the year, believe it or not.
But it's
Well,
still
I
it's,
mean,
no.
it's still a consensual song. It's still a song of consensual nature between
well,
a
at the
woman
end of the
towards
day,
her
dude's been rapping
husband.
about.
Four of us in this conversation. That is
Oh
not
no,
even our standard
on
of
both
music.
sides of that style of rapping should not be, idolized as the number one song when there's so many other R&B artists.
I mean, I
hip
think
hop
if you're an
artists
adult,
out
I
there.
don't think there's anything wrong with it. Dude's been rapping about getting cute, in all types
Yeah,
of
but it's-
manners, all types of
Tell
vile.
'em.
So when a female does
Tell
it,
'em.
it's not
No,
acceptable.
I do it on both sides. I find it unacceptable on both sides because there's so many other artists that have so much of a better message.
I went
Yeah, but they
totally
go
left
by
wing. I went
it
totally
goes-
left wing and was like, finally, there's an artist out there of the opposite gender, and great, she's expressing what she wants. How
Lil
long have
Kim.
we been waiting to just been? Can you tell me what you want?
Lil
Now we're
Kim,
getting told.
Lil
Yeah,
Kim,
like-
Foxy Brown, who else? The Brat, Missy,
Missy,
all of
yep,
them.
she-
All of them
they
went
did it
down
long
that line,
before
but
her.
they just yeah.
But also Missy
But she
Elliott
just
and that
came
also
out-
had a good statement to go with it. It wasn't all about, look at this and flap it in the air.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Or the
Hey man, you gotta
and the male
understand,
side
like,
of it even.
although she said, "Can we get freaky tonight
Yes.
ah,
on my window?
Listen, I'm not gonna
I
front.
can't
I
stand
can't
the
stand the
rain."
rain.
Yeah.
Leaving
Listen,
Right?
I'm not
out.
So,
gonna
but
front.
it had meaning. It had meaning.
Wait a
Now it's
minute. No,
just
no, no, no.
thrown
Wait, wait.
in.
Break
Did
me
it
off.
not?
Show me what you got. Because I don't want no 1 minute, man.
Minute Man.
Dun, dun, dun,
You
dun, 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 dun,
know what I mean?
dun,
Like,
dun, dun, dun. Woo!
that,
We're hearing it.
Yeah.
We're
yo,
hearing it, right?
I'm not gonna front. I like my ratchet.
Right? And
I like all y'all do. I like
and
my
and
ratchet too.
and Aaliyah's been
I know the
saying, "Rock
word.
the boat, rock the boat, rock the boat, work the
Work
middle,
the middle.
work the middle." Just telling you, bro. Like,
You know, it took me a minute. I'm like, oh, she's nasty.
baby girl, baby girl was
Okay,
bad.
I know what she's
Oh.
talking about.
I'm like, I
No,
don't have.
I'm just
a
saying,
yacht.
in my opinion, like, and you know, it only counts in my eyes. My opinion is, you know, the way I look at it is
Mhm.
there is other artists that get shoved down because of what they're trying to say or do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And,
it,
and,
it
and that's,
over.
those are the people that need to be picked up a little more, in my opinion.
Agreed. I
than
mean,
what the
sure, they're
song
not
of the
entertaining
year
on
is.
that level, but the message
Let it
gets
be
lost
male or
because we're
female.
not
I've
being
always thought that.
entertained by this anymore.
Well, yeah, well, you know why that gets pushed to the forefront and why
Yeah.
that is the number one song because
Yeah,
Black women
because
have been
this
sexualized.
and
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
And
And
this
money.
needs to be pimped. And when you write
yes,
something, constructive, for
yes,
some reason the masses don't hear the constructive
yes,
because they want to be ended by vision. So we'll
yes.
visualize you and blind you, and you're distracted.
Yeah, the industry is going to
It's like, hey,
support that opposed to a Lauryn Hill,
oh my
Jesus,
gosh.
I
Oh, yeah.
you
love
know, a
country.
Floetry. The industry is going to opposed to a
Alicia
Jill
Keys.
Scott. They are going
India
to push
Irie,
a Nikki.
We don't even
Exactly.
hear what's her name no more.
Erica.
It's all that I need. I'll
Yeah.
be there for you. If you keep it real with me, I keep it real with Mary J. Blige.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige.
Yeah?
You don't
What do
even
you
hear
mean?
Mary J. no more.
Hold up. Hold
Mhm.
up. Mary J. Blige is in Power right now. Power
Yeah.
Power Book
She's-
2.
She's acting because she now moved
yeah.
off the platform of music because she realizes what the same thing we're talking about.
Yeah.
There's only so much shine in one particular lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alicia
Well,
Keys stepped away so she didn't have to raise her kids in the industry.
I don't think she
Yeah.
has any kids.
She
She
stepped
Yeah.
away to
does.
do stuff like family stuff and whatnot. And now she's
Well,
slowly
you
coming
know,
back
family
again.
stuff meant she had to try to stop her husband from taking all her money with his trifling self.
Yeah.
I think she went through a very, very difficult divorce. Like this guy was trying to take her to the cleaners.
not her
stuff
current
that she
husband, the
built on
previous
her own
husband.
I
land.
believe he was her
Previous.
manager too, and that's
Okay.
why it got
Never
so
a good
ugly and
idea.
messy.
33.
Never a good
Okay.
idea to have that
Silly.
relationship with
Hey,
the manager.
Silly.
Hey,
Like,
hey, hold on. My wife injures upstairs. And so far, she hasn't done wrong by me. I mean, she's got me nominated twice for an award.
There
Yeah,
is
not
some
all of
rare
them are toxic,
circumstances.
right?
We will say
Not
this,
all of them are
this is an
toxic,
awesome
but-
person. There
man, I
is-
had to
I'll
step
tell you,
back.
like-
I'm sorry, honey. I wasn't a part of this.
I was looking at my phone. I don't even know what the hell they were saying.
You waiting to get that ding? I know you ain't down there talking about me.
No, there
no,
are
you didn't.
circumstances to everything, and
All you
Jenny's
get
an
is
amazing
2 eyeballs, David.
Yeah, man. Like, I got to make sure I'm not hearing her footsteps. Hold up.
Yeah.
Okay, be good.
But I'm gonna head out, man. Y'all have a great day.
No.
I want to do this
Yeah,
again.
fam. All right,
Thank
This
you
was
guys.
awesome.
definitely.
Peace. Have a
Bless
good
up.
Sunday, guys.
Yes, you too.
I'll see you two later.
All right.
Take care,
All
boys.
right. Yes, sir.
Easy.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, we're shutting this down for Sherri Darlene, LG, and DUI. This is the block saying, stay tuned next week. You never know.